Welcome to the Path to Purpose interview show, where we share our unique and universal stories about finding and fulfilling our purpose. My name is Katja, and I'm your host and a mentor for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to purpose. Today, I have a pleasure to interview Brigette Callahan, who is a slide presentation designer with 30 plus years experience creating engaging presentations. She has worked with some of the biggest names in business, including Xerox, Acura, Samsung, and PayPal. She is passionate about helping speakers create slides that engage and inspire their audience and turns them into raving fans. Who wouldn't want that? So let's find out more about her path, and I will also ask her best tips on how to design engaging presentation slides. So let's get started here. So welcome, Brigette. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Katja. I'm glad to be here.
And I just briefly introduced you. So could you please tell a little bit more about you and also share where you are located so we can put you on the map?
Sure. I live in Southern California in a small town called San Juan Capistrano. It's about 60 miles south of Los Angeles. And I grew up in California. And I got to tell you, I've always known I wanted to be an artist. I tell everyone since I was a zygote, which is before you're born. And I went to school doing artwork and went to college and got a degree in art and has been a graphic designer ever since. And early in my career, I got exposed to slide design. And to me, it was fascinating. And it was before computers. So we were doing artwork from scratch, drawing with inking pens, cutting lithographs, cutting out rotoscopes, which is a Hollywood term for cutting masks out of film so that you can put something in the background. Um, and there were 4 years that I did live in Hollywood, so I was exposed to they're making movies down the street, let's go watch them. And so having this job and creating actual artwork that's going to be on this huge screen just really amazed me. And ever since then, I've been very mindful of when people present slides, how they either engage their audience or how they kind of bore them.
Yeah.
And since computers came along, it's made it a lot easier for anybody to make slides. And the challenge is they don't know how to make engaging slides. So created my life purpose to teach people how can you create engaging slides and how can you really get your message across so that you're not wasting your time, but you're not wasting the audience's time.
Mm. I love that you said it's your purpose, and I totally know how talented you are, as you have supported me as well in with my masterclass slides.
Thank you.
And was there a special event that led you to this path?
Well, I didn't know there was a special event until I worked with you, and we got to dig deep into really creating or discovering that foundation story.
Mm.
And where it started was I was in fifth grade, and we moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, which is dead center into the middle of the United States, and a completely different weather. There's snow there. It's not California at all. And uh, I knew we weren't in our element anymore. It was hot, it was muggy. The sun stayed up till late in the summertime. I used to complain, how can I go to bed at 8 o'clock when the sun's still out? And every day my relationship with my stepfather wasn't good.
Mm.
I knew that he didn't like me because he was really wanting to make me cry every day. And the game was for me to just stay away from him and not interact with him at all. I didn't like him either.
Mm.
During that time, I started drawing. I was very shy and quiet, and it just was something that I loved to do. And when there was art class in school, it really excited me. And there was this art contest they were having in the 5th grade, and I worked really hard because I wanted to win. But I lost to this boy in class, so I remember how disappointed I was because my dad really didn't appreciate my drawings. He would say to me, "You'll never make it money as an artist." And so I was like, just as this 5th grader, I'm committed to prove him wrong, right? So I would go to bed every night hoping that my mother would get back with my real dad because I wanted peace in the family. But another thing aspect about my stepfather was he was a very successful salesman. He sold locks, also known as doorknobs. And that's why we had to move to Nebraska. And one day, well, he became the top salesman in the company, and he would win a lot of awards every year because he worked really hard. One day, my mom had a dinner party for the top executives of the company, and my dad called me down from my room to meet them. I'm like, why am I going down there? I could smell the cigarette smoke and the alcohol in their breath. He introduced me to the vice president of marketing, saying I could get a job working for them in their art department one day. And I quickly retorted, I don't want to draw doorknobs all day. And they just roared laughing. They thought that was so funny. And I felt, embarrassed. I felt small and disgusted. And I just went back to my room. As I grew older, I resisted all attempts from my father helping me with my career. I felt he didn't understand me and I really didn't trust him. Besides, I don't think he really knew what I wanted to do with my life. We never really talked. My senior year in high school, we lived in Chicago, again, away from California. And my mom really wanted me to stay there and go to the college at Art Center. But I wanted to do everything I could to get away from my stepdad. And so I moved back to California to go to school. Once I left, I really was on my own trying to make it in my life, And I went to college, majored in art, but it turned out that my college was not going to be paid for, even though we grew up knowing it was all paid for. And so I had to get a job and work full time and go to college. So I created the 5-year plan, if you've ever heard of that.
Yep.
I was so committed to not being that starving artist. I wanted to get a good job right out of college. And it was working for a VP of marketing at an automotive aftermarket company who makes wheels. Now, how are wheels different than doorknobs? After 2 years working there, I moved to San Diego and got a job at a multimedia company. And this is where my world opened up in the realm of presentation design, as I said earlier. It was like working in Hollywood. We produced film and video and slides, all with custom music and professional voiceovers. And we even had 2 photographers on staff. Fast forward 15 years, and I've worked for multiple companies in their art department, and I finally started my own graphic design company. I had bought my first home 5 years before, and I owned a new car. I was doing well, and I enjoyed my career. I pushed really hard to make it and in life, and I proved to my stepfather that I can make money as an artist. 20 years after that, I've purchased 2 more investment properties, and my business thrived through all the up and downs of the economy. Looking back, my stepfather had passed away 27 years ago, and I think I finally proved my point. I resisted my father's help all my life, but I realized that what he taught me was how to be successful in business and what it takes to run my own business. In all my resistance, he actually succeeded with me by working hard himself and taking pride in his work. And ever since then, I love working with sales and marketing executives because I know their world. I help them by creating expert presentations that communicate clearly to their customers so they can see the true benefits of the product you're selling and see how it can help them. I know what their home life is like because I grew up in it, and I appreciate their commitment to their doorknobs and how it can take part in their success. I realized that my stepdad really did care for me and was doing what he could to open doors for me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story because that's really, and I love the opportunity to work with you and discover the doorknob and the door that your stepdad opened for you. in his own way, and like the connection that you made them, like, oh wow, like the circle kind of closed when we worked on this story.
Well, it was very healing too, because, you know, you can go through life with a resentment and it doesn't really do anything for you, especially when they're no longer living,
mm,
right? But then how can you make up or, you know, resolve it when they're no longer living? And what I did was just really acknowledge and look back at my past and kind of reformulated my opinions and saw, you know what, he probably was having conversations with my mom about me going to the art center in Chicago, because I'm sure my mom wouldn't be able to swing that. They'd have to talk about it as a couple because I'd be living there.
mm,
And I just, you know, wasn't looking beyond. I can't trust him. He doesn't care about me. And you know, I think the real deep story was I never gave him a chance,
mm,
because when I met him the first time, I was like 5 years, 6 years old. And he came over. It was the first time we met. And it was a Saturday morning. And he came in and he had this big booming voice, says, "It's a beautiful morning." And I'm at the top of the stairs going, "What's so great about it?" You know,
mm,
because I wanted my mom to be back with my dad. I was like, who is this guy? Why is he taking over? And so I look back and I was like, I was the first one that didn't like him.
mm,
And when I could own that, then I can see, well, let's look at this differently. You know, he was trying hard to work with me. He loved my mom. And I had two other sisters and a brother. You know, he took them in and did his best. Why was I so resistant?
mm.
So,
And now you found the doorknob and the door opened, and it really shifted also the relationship that you, the feelings, the emotions that you have towards him. And now, like sharing this story as well is kind of like honoring his part of your life as well, where he supported you his own way, because we are here in a journey and sometimes these things happen, people come to our life, but they all can teach us something. And I really recognize what you learned from him and how you relate to him now. And I feel like this can be something also who are listening now, like we all might have something similar, like similar relationship, but that has been challenging. But then we can also discover the gold from them, like what did we learn? So that has been beautiful to witness on your journey.
well, and the cake in it all, or the dessert, is I now look back and I say I had two fathers. How many
Mm,
people can say that?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And going into like these doorknobs and the work that you do now for others, like helping to open their doors, whatever kind of doors they want to open, as you help people with their presentation slides. In your opinion, like your expert opinion, why do so many people struggle to creating engaging presentations?
Well, I think it's a lack of training on understanding what what visuals you can, you know, associate with what you're saying and how the audience perceives it. I mean, it's very easy for us to sit in the audience and judge other speakers or judge their slides and immediately know if we're connected to them or not, right? I mean, how many of us have heard a speaker go up, "Oh, let me show you my slides," and we're like, "Oh," and they put them up there and they're just horrendous, right? And it's like you kind of tune out, you know,
Mm,
like how long is this going to be? You know, who's the next speaker? And you kind of look forward to, when this is over, what's next? And then there's another one that's kind of boring as well. And I found most speakers never really have seen a great presentation. So when they see it, they're like, "Oh my God, wow, that's so cool." And it's kind of like that Hollywood effect, I call it, you know.
mhm,
I live close to Disneyland, and I remember as a little kid, we went to this one of these attractions, was a 360-degree theater, a movie theater, and it was a camera that had, you know, lenses 360 degrees, and it was flying. And so you're flying over the hills and you're seeing all these monuments and all this stuff all over the US, and you're standing there and they have to put railings on because it feels like you're moving, right? And it was just like, oh, wow. And just as a little kid, I just embodied all that. And so when I was exposed to it as a work, I was like, I can do this for a living? That's cool. So it's that experiential, emotional, it's in your bones kind of feeling that I like to create as a connection to your audience. And that can be done with really impactful and really well curated visuals.
Mm.
So that's my sweet spot.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like when you showed things that are possible, I was like, wow, I didn't even think that I can do those kind of things. I'll have them on my slides. And and then the other side of this is like what makes presentation slides engaging? Like what kind of effects did we have there? Or like, can you share more about that?
Yeah, it's actually very simple. I mean, you could just start with a really great image and just go full frame with the image. Don't slap it on a white background and have white around the edges. I tell everyone, if you're going to design your slides on a white background, you're going to put your audience to sleep,
Mm,
guaranteed. And they're like, what? I said, because visually, when we look at projected light, that's what a television screen or slides are. It's projecting light into our eyes. When we look at projected light, we look at the white. So think of being in a movie theater, right? And
mm,
you go in there and it's still showing the previews. You got your popcorn, you're ready, and then the movie starts and the music wells, but they don't turn the lights off. It's like, hello, turn the lights off. The movie started, and you get upset because you can't enjoy the movie as well because these lights are blinding you. It's the
mm.
same with a white slide. So when you think of your eyes go to the light, if you fill the frame with the full picture, it's like television. It's like, okay, we're watching a movie or something. And normally we'll look at an image, with a person in it, we'll look to see is their eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that person has eyes. Are they looking at us? And if they're not looking at us, then what are they looking at? So our eyes go to their eyes, then we go to what they're looking at. And it's in that eye movement around the slide, and then where you might want to place a little bit of text, a couple words just to kind of emphasize what you're saying. I mean, we've all seen the slides where they read every bullet to us, and we feel like we're in kindergarten. It's like, don't do that. And speakers go, well, how will I know what to say? And I said, well, because you're going to practice and you're going to know your talk and you're going to use the pictures to trigger the stories, right? And so, and it's strings of stories. It's not like I want to read this report that I created and they'll get it. It's like that's pretty much junior high school. I mean, if you really practice your talk and create stories around it, and you can create stories around statistics.
Mm.
You think of we're
Yeah.
in the middle of COVID right now, and there's all these statistics going out like 90,000 people got infected this yesterday. I was like, okay, 90,000. Well, how many got hospitalized? They don't seem to publish that in the US for some reason. But it's like, I'm curious, yeah, 90 infected, but then there's all these people that are not, showing signs. They can still go out in the public and they're infecting others. So it's in those statistics you can tell stories, and they'll show stories of people who their parents just died, or someone got sick and was in the hospital for a month and a half and almost didn't make it. And it's in those stories that support the statistics. So
Mm.
find the story in your statistics. And then when you share them in a story format, which Katja can really help you with, then you're going to be more engaging. And I, I've designed slides for 30 years, so I'm always looking for better ways to convey information and convey visuals and reveal information. And like with your slides, we just had a basic picture. We had some text, and every once in a while we'd have bullet reveals, where it might be some text that reveals as you say it. But it was very simple. It was very clean. It wasn't a lot of animations and stuff. People put in these crazy animations thinking that'll fix their slides, and it doesn't. A good slideshow, you don't notice the animations.
Mm.
Okay. It just reveals the information in a tasteful and meaningful way.
Yeah, so those were amazing tips, like what can help you already. So don't do that, like white background and the photo image. And well, I loved working with you as well because you helped me also to really understand how to tell the story through slides. Because I'm
Mm,
all about stories, but then
mm.
when it came to presentation, I had not thought about presentations that way, like my masterclass slides. And you showed me the way, and now I'm like, oh yes, every image that I put on my slides is like sharing a story. So story on their own that supports what I'm saying. So that was like, whoa, a light bulb moment for me.
Well, and there's also a cadence too.
Mm,
And what do you mean by that? Well, there could be a pause before you reveal the next slide.
yeah.
And some people pause too much because they have to look at their slide, click to the next slide, then they pause again to know what they're going to say. And I tell them, I said, if you're just about to finish your last slide, click to the next slide. You could still be talking about that last slide, but the next slide shows up so that you're mentally prepared to know what to say next without creating too much of a gap. And their brain will naturally just listen to the tail end of the previous and then get engaged in the next one. And when I told that to one of my speakers, she's like, "Isn't that cheating?" Like, well, why do you say that? I said, because I'm going to be seeing what the next slide is. I says, well, then yeah, it's cheating. Do it all the time.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, but we all have those kind of stories that we make when we give
I
presentations.
know, limiting stories, right? Another one is I've spoken on stage a couple of times about the work I do, and I'll come out on stage and I'll just look real quick. I won't start talking right away. You know, it's like a difference. If the speaker's not speaking, people look up like, well, what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And then I raise my hand. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced the boring slide presentation and it gets a laugh and people raise their hand and I'll let it pause for a second. Then I'll switch to a slide that shows someone experiencing a boring presentation and they'll laugh. So it's a pause, and knowing when to have those pauses can really create that uber impact and engagement. And it takes practice. It takes years of watching other speakers, seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then seeing what works for you. And there's lots of speaker coaches out there that can help you with this to get that into you quicker if that's something that's important to you. But it's like finding your own voice when you're on stage. And it could even be in a boardroom. You're talking to maybe 3 executives or 5 executives, and it's like, well, you're telling a story and you want them to walk away with something. So I tell them the first thing you want to do when you start a presentation is don't go open PowerPoint or Keynote, is to write down the outcome.
Yeah.
Like when I finish my presentation, I'm going to be talking about this, this, and this, but I want them to walk away knowing this or doing that or realizing that I do know my work and that I am a big part of this company. Write down that outcome, because once you have the outcome, then when you start writing your talk, you're going to be closing the gap to that outcome. So
Mm.
it has nothing to do with slides at that point. It's really creating your future and then working towards that future.
Wow, that's amazing tip, like how to get started, because that's actually my next question for you. If someone has now inspiration to update and upgrade their presentation slides, like they are like,
Yeah.
all right, I think I need some work there. So that is one step where they can start, like the outcome. Is there
Yeah.
something else? Of course, I recommend everyone just contact Brigette and get the support, because then like even getting one presentation, like having the total makeover what she did for my presentation, but just having the support and like getting the mindset how to also think about your slides. So what else if somebody's now like, yeah, but I want to get started on my own, so what could be then something they could do?
Well, one thing I can help them with the visuals is I have this free 60-minute training that we'll post the link to. And it's five video set that walks them through the different aspects of creating visual slides, from adding engagement by adding a video. Well, okay, I can add a video, but how do I get it to play and how do I get it to do what I want it to do? And so I walk through all the professional things that we do on the job sites of how we get a video to play and how it can be seamless. We also talk about how to find great visuals, or how to create a graphic or a statistic. We actually walk through creating some visual statistics. And it's like a fun way, you kind of have to think differently, think out of the box of what would I want on the screen that exemplifies a statistic. And some of the things I do is I love TV. I maybe I'm addicted to it, but it's because it's so visual, and that's where the top visual designers work is in television. You watch the morning news or whatever, and they're showing statistics and the movement and everything. It's just mind-bogglingly awesome and engaging, and so I grab ideas from there. Um, you know, there's this myth about artists having to have original ideas. And Picasso had a saying is good artists borrow, great artists steal. So it's okay to see something else that you like and emulate it. You
Yeah.
know, it's a quick way to get a nice design done.
Wonderful. And that's already many tips for how they can get started. And I definitely recommend that you sign up for the free training. You find the link in the comments below so you can get that and get the support, because it is such a key part. Like, you put all the love and the energy to create that presentation. So have the slides that are supporting what you do, that the audience will stay there and listen your presentation, listen to your message, and that way you can share the gifts. So I totally recommend that you sign up there. And how people otherwise, how they can find out more about you and your work other than your awesome gift.
Yeah, so my website that you could reach me if you wanted to contact me is presentationdesignexpert.com. And there I talk about some of the services I do. I show examples. I have blog posts of speakers I've worked with. And, a lot of the speakers, they just don't have time to deal with it. They, take it off my hands. And that's what I love. I love to just take the pain away from them. And the engagement that we have is just, I'm peeling away the layers of what's inside of them that we can really make this presentation soar. And in some cases, I've even traveled with speakers
Mm.
and been there to rehearse with them, to revise slides last minute, to be there on site and to create this like partnership. Like I'll stand in the back of the room while they're presenting and I'll listen to how the audience is reacting. It's called Are you aware of the listening of the audience? And
Mm.
I'll be aware of that to see, are they responding to the speaker? Are they reacting in the way that we intended, or was there something missed? And so we'll have a debrief afterwards and say, you know what, this part worked great. This part didn't work so great. We want to work on that. And to have that real life, like interaction and coaching, so to speak, to make it even better. Most people didn't even know that exists.
Mm. Wow, amazing. And now, as we are wrapping up this interview, I'd like to ask, do you have a special message that you would like to share as we wrap up?
Mm. Well, my message is I loved crossing paths with you and working with you. And if anyone gets the chance to work with you further, by all means, jump on it, because what you offer and what you provide and what you provided for me has just really uplifted my business and my life, and has me realize at a deeper level what I love to do and the gifts I can give to the world. And just keep moving forward. Find those great clients that you want to work with, and they're out there, and there's plenty of them.
Mm.
So enjoy.
Oh, thank you. And it was a pleasure and honor to work with you. And also, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your expertise here. I feel like there was so many golden nuggets that you shared that people can implement straight away. And please do also register for the free training. That is amazing. So thank you, Brigette. And thank you for watching the Path to Purpose show. If you want more support for your path, join also my Lightworkers Who Succeed on Purpose Facebook community. I'm sending you so much light and love. Stay well and stay blessed, and check out the next episode. Have a wonderful day and bye for now.
Bye.